What's up, everybody? You're back in here with the Pro Football Pod. You've got all the boys. We've got Coach. We've got Austin, whichever side he's on. I'm your boy Hulk. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell for the future. We've got another mock draft with trades coming at you. Boys, I know I saw you over the weekend, but tell people, how was your week? How's things been going for you?
Fantastic. Keep it moving.
Good
I'm
stuff.
nervous about this one, man. We got some changes going on. We got real comfortable with just keeping it, flowing, and now we got all the trades and all the decisions and the stuff. And
It adds an exciting element to it. I'm very excited to dive into this with some trades.
The biggest move I've seen is the Dolphins maybe acquiring OBJ. How about that?
An offer is out there.
Is out there. I've heard about this man like partying. He's buying real estate in Miami. He might have a little bit of ownership.
He's in Miami all the time. Do you remember the infamous Giants boat pick?
Yeah.
They were in Miami, bro.
Yeah.
It's Miami bitch, but okay.
He's Miami bitch.
So let's get it started with the Bears. They've been on the clock for a long time. Where are we going?
All right, so I'm picking first in this one here, and then we'll wrap around. So, I wanted to do something crazy and try to trade out, or try to do something a little spicy, but that's just not going to happen here. So, what we're going to do is we're just going to do what everybody knows is going to happen. We're going to take Caleb Williams.
Boom.
Super exciting.
Talent.
Let's just go ahead and get past that. This is where the draft actually starts. Number 2. What's up, Austin? Who you got for the Commanders?
That man, Drake May.
More
tape comes out on him. The more you watch him, he's selling himself. He's got that little specialty gadget of like being able to get the ball out whenever the play's dead.
He has been the victim this year. That one quarterback every year, the one player it happens to where it's not that they do anything wrong, but for one reason or another, other players are doing this to him. And in the long run, he very well could just be the person who we thought he was at the beginning of all of this. So, I mean, I can't really argue with you there. I want to see Jalen Daniels there just as a preference with his play style, but Drake May's play style is kind of along those lines too. So, I mean, I'm not mad at it.
I want to see Jalen Daniels there because I don't want him to go in the next pick. More than anything. I would so much rather have to deal with Drake May. That's what it is.
Jalen Daniels in the AFC East, I don't want to scheme for that or deal with that twice a year. But then again, don't really want to have to do it with Drake May because you've already got Josh Allen. Are you really trying to add another one to the division? Not giving him those flowers yet, but that is kind of who his comp is.
That dude picking
he looks like a
Lamar
Josh Allen
as his favorite running quarterback was the most disrespectful thing.
He did say he liked Josh's power running ability, which is more his style. So it does check out. It does check out. Whoa, we're not throwing those accusations around out here.
I don't know, man. I don't like him. I don't like him anymore. And he went to a North Carolina school. So everybody's expecting the Patriots to trade back. Almost every mock draft I see is the Patriots are going to trade back and they're going to acquire more. They're not just a quarterback away. I totally disagree with this on all stances, especially if what just happens. If Drake May goes at 2 and Jaden Daniels is sitting there just waiting, this guy is scary to have to scheme against. He's going to change their team dynamic from day one. He's going to be the CJ Stroud effect, maybe times 10. So I think that the Patriots would be silly to not draft Jaden Daniels here right now. They're going to be able to get a wide receiver at the beginning of the second round. They're going to be able to trade up in the end of the first if their guy is still there with like the Giants the Lions or Baltimore or San Fran. Like one of those last 4 picks, supreme place for one of these teams to trade up. So
who's the head coach of the Patriots right now?
Gerard Mayo.
He hasn't coached for, has he?
No, he was on the staff
as a head coach
last year for the Patriots.
It's just it's a much different kind of quarterback you're buying into than the system that they've been used to. Like
they're bringing in
now,
so everything's that's probably good. Like,
it
new
could be
coach,
for the better.
new turn of the page, new system. Like,
to keep up
he
with the new
sees the
type
way
of
the
NFL.
league is going. Like, yeah, like, and I'm with you there. Like, if roles reversed, if Drake May was in this spot, I'd be pounding the table to trade back.
Yeah,
Just
I think so
garner
too.
picks, you have too many holes to fill. But I do agree. If Jaden Daniels falls here, it turns into a discussion because of his game-breaking ability that he has with his legs.
They're definitely. I mean, if Drake May falls to them, they're going to take Drake May there, right? If Jaden Daniels goes 2 overall,
I think Drake May's a great player. I don't have any qualms with him, but he's not a special talent in my eyes. I think that he is going to develop into a great quarterback potentially, but it might take a couple years and some training wheels falling off a couple times. I think Jaden Daniels, if Jaden Daniels came out last year, I think he could have been the first pick. I think he would have gotten taken over C.J. Stroud. I think he would have been taken over Bryce Young. I think that he could have been the first pick last year. He's just so dynamic with running and throwing the ball. The NFL teams want that. Oh, is that what I was? Yeah. That's what I meant to say.
Sounds like it.
All right, Justin, you're on the clock with the Cardinals.
All right, so yeah, that's a whole other bag of worms to get into. Is Jaden Daniels over everybody last year? But moving on. Cardinals at number 4, because the Patriots did not do it, and before I say this, I'm going to say I do think it is a overall reach, but it's because of who is coming up next in the draft and because of the importance of the position and where they're sitting at. I think this is where the Cardinals look to really trade back, and a team like the Vikings, maybe the Giants, the Broncos, the Raiders, somebody moving up into this 4th spot to not allow JJ McCarthy to drop, specifically to drop to New York. And with the Giants, the Cardinals only have to go back 2 spots. Very well, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, either one of them will still be there. They can still get their guys, so that trade makes a lot of sense. The trade I'm doing with them, though, is the Vikings. We're going to give them 11 and 23, so they're going to garner 2 first-round picks for this year. They'll get another one for next year and something else extra, as in like a 3rd or 4th-round pick either this year or next year. Not diving into all that, so we're just going to force this trade here. So the Cardinals now will pick number 11 and number 23 in the draft. The Vikings have moved up to number 4, and we're going to have them select J.J. McCarthy.
I've been hearing word that
he fits Kevin O'Connell, that Shanahan system, perfectly. He is Kirk Cousins, but younger
and mobile,
and more athletic.
So mobile. Like, I think that that's a great pick for them. I think that that helps Justin Jefferson be able to continue to produce at a high level. I think that it solves a lot of their problems that they're running into right now because they are in a win now situation. The NFC North is very much open still. Jordan Love is still young. He looked great this year, but like the Bears, they need to have something to be able to produce at a high level. JJ definitely comes in and helps right away.
How do you feel about that, Austin? Your Michigan boy staying up north, going to Minnesota?
Hell yeah. And keep them away from the damn New Jersey Giants. I love that.
That's my main thing is
pair him up with JJ for
with
JJ
the Giants,
all day.
If the Giants were to try to trade up, the Cardinals only go back 2 spots, so they can still get somebody. However, when you are trying to, kind of do a mini rebuild with your team, to me, the Vikings being able to add so much more to their trade than the Giants would be able to, and that value of having a 2nd first-round pick this year with the class you've already fully scouted, there's a lot of value in that to me as well. So JJ McCarthy going number 4 overall to Minnesota after trading up. Austin, you're on the clock with the Chargers and the Harbaughs.
Yes, sir. And so there's 2 scenarios I see it. If the Cardinals don't do it, which I think that they take Marvin Harrison.
You don't think they trade back there?
Yeah, and then I
For
think that
11
the
and 23?
Chargers, I think the Chargers do with the Vikings.
Okay.
Hardball being the coach and all, like having JJ go top 5 overall, like.
Oh, I agree. If the
he'll
Cardinals
be
don't make that trade, I expect the Chargers to make it.
yeah, and they'll be
Now,
picking up the best wide receiver.
If the
that
Cardinals
can.
do, though, what do you think Chargers are doing, Austin?
Just going with the best wide receiver on the board, and it's going to be Marvin Harrison falling right to him.
Another generational talent
and
in
that's
this
going to
draft.
be insane with pairing up with Justin Herbert.
Yes.
And I've seen his comp, Keenan Allen, in a lot of places.
Yeah.
Like their route running ability, their big body. They're not absolute burners, but they have enough speed. They have good body control, great hands, like good football IQ. And I mean, Keenan Allen is a top 10 receiver every single year, year in and year out. For as much hate as he gets, he's one of the most underrated people ever. So
absolutely,
you lose Keenan Allen, you replace him with Marvin Harrison Jr. That's awesome. Like, I think Chargers fans are ecstatic with that.
At that point, you're replacing Mike Williams with Quentin Johnston. They comp pretty similarly as well. And Quentin Johnston isn't a total route running machine. He's more of a big body, go up and snag the ball. But he's stayed healthy all last year. And then now you get to replace with a younger Keenan Allen. I think that's the ideal situation.
Mm-hmm.
We had them taking tackle in most of our recent mocks. But with them letting all their wide receivers go, it seems like they're going pretty heavy on wide receiver in the first round.
So who you got for the Giants at 6 now that the top 4 QBs are gone?
So if you guys watched our wide receiver ranking video, you know that I have Malik Neighbors ranked over Marvin Harrison slightly. I think that it's very, very close. I think everyone's ranking Marvin because of his pedigree and not just what you saw on tape. I still think, though, that because of what they already have on their roster, that they do need more of a Rome Odunze type player than they need Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors is going to be amazing wherever he goes, but I think Rome Odunze is also a phenomenal talent. He's got the size and the speed. He's got the hands. He's got the route running. He could potentially comp it to Devontae Adams. We've seen a lot. So I think that's what we're going to see. If Marvin goes at 5, then we're going to see Rome Odunze at 6.
We're just built different.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I agree. They're different play styles, different type of guys. Rome's more of the big body guy that can go up and get it. So
they've already got Jalen Hyatt. They've got Wan'Dale Robinson. Like, they've already got a lot of that type of, receivers, but they don't really have a big body anymore.
I hate it. I hate whenever the Giants draft receivers because they just go there to die. Like, you don't see much of them.
Here lately,
hopefully
but
you can pop off.
We haven't seen them draft a receiver in the top 10 in forever.
Yeah, and with this type of draft class too. So
exactly.
you can't go wrong with these guys.
I like that there a lot. I like that a lot. So number 7, I've got Tennessee on the clock. Brought in Calvin Ridley.
Tennessee.
They've got in Lloyd Cushenberry, but I think right now this is almost a no-brainer for me. And I see Malik Neighbors on the board screaming at me to go ahead and pull the trigger, but bringing in Calvin Ridley, still having DeAndre Hopkins, you've got Treylon Burks, and Joe Alt is yelling from the rooftops to draft him, and that's what's going to happen here. Titans just going to take a tackle, solidify either side of their line, and just build the trenches. The Titans have low-key had a very good offseason. Bringing in L'Jarius Sneed as well. Like, they've had a very good offseason. Who else? Tony Pollard? Tony Pollard joined them.
Yes, sir.
Great offseason. Just, give somebody to block for Tony. Tony needs a little bit of space out there to work. And, Joe Alt. So,
and they already have a really solid defense to work with. They need a little safety help, but that's about it.
Yeah, and you can do that in the second round.
Hell yeah.
So that leaves the Falcons are on the clock.
Yes, sir. So they can go 2 directions here. You can get the stud in Malik Neighbors or get the best D lineman on the board. It's going to have to be Malik Neighbors. Just too talented of a receiver not to pull the trigger on him.
I love that. Like, if Malik Neighbors were to fall here, because of them having Drake London. Now, if Rome Odunze was here, he to me is just a faster Drake London.
Yeah.
But with you get Kirk Cousins, you have Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Malik Neighbors.
Another
What
LSU
more
receiver.
do you need for your offense?
I mean, it's a lot like Addison and Jefferson. Like, whenever he had both, you saw what Addison was able to produce last year.
I love that pick. Like, I was hoping that's the pick you were going to make because I don't think I've seen any mocks with Malik Neighbors falling to number 8.
Yeah.
So that if I'm with you, if he were to fall there, I think the Falcons are looking at each other and they're just like, did none of us expected this? Like, we got to draft him, right?
Yeah.
So with the Bears, I think that they wouldn't have taken Malik Neighbors either. They've already got Keenan Allen. They've got DJ Moore. They've got a lot of talent at the wide receiver position. To bring in a guy for him to be the number 3 target doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think that they're really happy that Dallas Turner is still there. They would have easily taken Jared Verse if Verse had fallen to them instead. But I think Dallas Turner's a phenomenal defensive end. He's just off the charts athletically. So this is a position where they could potentially trade back, but there's not a lot of so there's not a quarterback that I think is worth trading up for. Like, I don't think the Raiders try to jump the Broncos to get their guy whenever there's still 2 that are around the same level, and to take them in a top 10 pick, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think that if JJ was still there, they might.
Swapping.
Yeah.
I don't see them swapping because they're both in need of the same position.
Exactly. So yeah, we're gonna go Dallas Turner at 9.
Sweet.
I like that.
You like Dallas Turner over Jared Verse, you said?
Yeah, I mean, it was the athleticism that you saw at the combine was a big part of it. Jared Verse looks like a total monster, but so did Dallas Turner on film, and then he just was a complete show out at the combine. So I think that that's what gives them the leg up.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with either.
So Jets are on the clock.
Jets are on the clock, and right now, looking at it, they don't really have a tackle need because they brought in Tyron Smith, traded for Morgan Moses, so the tackle need is not immediate. And so, if Roman Dunze or Malik Neighbors, one of those top 3 wide receivers, were to fall here, probably that's who they go. I could see Brian Thomas, wouldn't be mad at that. I could also see Brock Bowers, would not be mad at that. But I think this is the point to where the Jets are looking at it like they're cooking with gas. And because of that, I wouldn't be shocked to see the Jets also make a trade and trade back here for somebody coming up for one of these offensive tackles or for one of these edge rushers that are still on the board here before they start dropping to the middle rounds. And so for that being the case, what I'm going to have happen here is I'm going to have the Seattle Seahawks trade up to number 10. They're going to give up 16. We're going to figure probably a second rounder this year and then
so 81.
And then like a third rounder next year. But it doesn't matter. We'll just force this trade. Just do 16 for 10. Jets will pick 16th. So the Seahawks move up to number 10 here so that way they can take Jared Verse. And so you get Jared Verse in Seattle, give them the little edge presence. Yeah, they probably have a need on the interior line, and one of the top guys probably would have fell to them. But an athletic specimen like Jared Verse still being there in the top 10 for you with the way this draft falls out. The Cardinals, the Broncos, the Raiders, the Saints, any one of them could pull the trigger on him, in my opinion. So that's who the Seahawks are jumping in this situation. Add a little pass rush to their arsenal there in Seattle. Mike McDonald gets him a guy on his defensive side, defensive coordinator for the Ravens last year.
All right, Austin. So you've got the Cardinals again.
Cardinals at 11.
Sir. We already got them a receiver.
No, they traded back. Remember?
Yeah. So they've got Brian Thomas, AD Mitchell.
That's where I don't see them doing that because then they're just downgrading at receiver in this draft.
Not really.
You know.
I think Brian Thomas is a phenomenal talent. I mean,
no,
he's a wide receiver
I'm
one all
not
day.
saying
it gives you the possibility of yes, you could get Marvin Harrison or Malik Neighbors, or you get Brian Thomas and Amarius Mims at 23 and solidify your tackle spot, or you take a tackle at 11 and then you get an AD Mitchell, a Troy Franklin, or a Keon Coleman at 23.
I mean, at
and
this point,
get your wide receiver.
Only one tackle has come off the board.
That's my thing.
And like they do have a need to protect their franchise quarterback. I think wide receiver is a decent need for them because they let go Rondale Moore and like they let go Hollywood Brown, but they still have Michael.
They could also pull the trigger on a corner here at 11.
Yeah, none have come off the board. Michael Wilson, yeah.
Like you've got Quinyon Mitchell and I do not know why his name's Terrion Arnold.
Yeah.
You've got both of them still on the board. Like, so to me, the Cardinals, like them trading back just opens their possibilities because they have so many holes to fill. So what do you think they're going here at 11? What are they valuing the most?
I still think they definitely need receiver help. So Brian Thomas would have to be the pick.
Okay. I don't hate that at all.
I would love that. If they traded back to 11, got 23 in the process, and still ended up with Brian Thomas, which for a lot of people is a top 3 wide receiver in this draft, I think they would be one of the top winners of the first round.
Yeah.
You seem disappointed in making that pick.
You're
like, oh, Brian.
It's just so different.
He just wants them to have Marvin so bad.
We're getting nuts with it. But that's my thing with that's why I love doing the trades in these mock drafts is because how many years have we watched the first round and a trade happens that you do not expect to happen?
Yeah.
Or somebody ends up taking a guy that you did not see they were mocked to take in any mock draft that you watched that season, but they took him. Like, I'll never forget the year the Dolphins traded up for Deion Jordan. Literally almost gave me a heart attack. Had no idea we were set to trade up at all. Definitely didn't think he was on the radar.
Nope.
It was insane. So why
next Jason Taylor?
So Brian Thomas, I love that pick.
So we know that Sean Payton's biggest need right now for his football team is quarterback. They don't have one on the roster that's a starter. I think that the closest person to a quarterback that's had a lot of success in Sean Payton's system is Michael Penix Jr. And he could absolutely trade back a little bit to one of these teams that are in massive need. And I think that that's what they're going to do. I think that the Raiders could end up taking Michael Penix Jr., but they could also easily take Bo Nix. I think that there's not a lot of quarterback needy teams between here and 17. And I think that the Jaguars have such a big need on their defensive side of the ball that with having, Quinyon Mitchell and Terrion Arnold still available, I think that that's a prime place for them to trade up. So we're going to do another trade right here, and we're going to be trading with the Jaguars.
Are you giving up that quarterback slot to the Raiders, he said?
Yeah, that the Raiders are likely going to take quarterback. I like the
thought process on it. Like, one of the two are going to fall to you at 17.
Michael Penix is the ideal.
Yeah. Like, one of the two of them will still fall to you at 17, hopefully. And then the Jaguars, I mean, like you said, they've got a need on the defensive side, but also with Jared Verse and Dallas Turner going, to me, that gives the Broncos more of a reason to trade back, because if one of those guys were available, I could see that being the pick and the Broncos trying to trade up into the back end of the first.
So we've been pretty pounding the table on Quinyon Mitchell for the last 3 or 4 weeks.
We've got him going top 15 finally.
I mean,
corners always fall in our mock drafts that we've done. So I love that.
Yes. I think that he's the pick. Terrion Arnold was a little bit banged up still. Cooper DeJean, same thing. He also is kind of looking more like a safety potentially. Quinyon Mitchell could end up being the best cornerback in this class. Just so athletic, so competitive. Seeing the way he played in the Senior Bowl was just It was unreal. So Raiders are on the clock. What you got?
Oh, so I was not prepared to have the Raiders here, and here we go. So the Raiders have so many needs, bro. They could use a linebacker. They could pull the trigger on Terrion Arnold here as well.
Yeah.
And I want to take Bo Nix. I do. I also don't want to have to trade back again because I've traded back like my last 2 weeks. So we're not going to do that. So we're not
It's a
going
lot
to
of trades in the first round here.
But no, realistically, like they've expected Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew to kind of battle it out here. I don't see, and from what I've gathered, Antonio Pierce's absolute desire to like force himself to draft a quarterback. And so with that being the case, they just got Christian Wilkins. They have Max Crosby. They're solidifying that defense a little bit. I'm taking Terrion Arnold. I'm going to give him a guy on the outside there for him on that defense. Keep building that defense up a little bit. Do it with a young guy now, especially because you've got so much money tied into that defense. And, you know, they are a candidate to trade up into the back end of the first round if one of these quarterbacks start to drop.
Like that. I like that.
All right, Austin, you got the Saints on the clock.
With the Saints, I like them picking up that boy Troy Fatanu.
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 From Washington.
Yeah,
the tackle.
From Washington. Yeah, big old left tackle.
I love that pick.
They're gonna get some protection for that boy Derek Carr in that run game.
Or the future rookie that they draft next year.
Yes, sir. His time is coming.
I love him.
It was either a tackle or a receiver for them. And if they were gonna go receiver, I think they would trade back. But if they're gonna pick someone, I think they go tackle.
I agree.
It's definitely a need for them, though.
Fatanu, they could have gone Olu Fashanu. J.C. Latham, Amarius Mims, like that. They've got their pick of the litter there. So I mean, it's just at that point, it's just who fits their system. What are they looking for? You know, player interviews, things like that we're not privy to. So I mean, could be any one of them, but they have their pick, and I agree with the tackle pick there.
Now we've had the Colts taking wide receiver here before they re-signed Michael Pittman. We've also had them taking Brock Bowers to try to help solidify that passing game. I think that Anthony Richardson's running ability is something that they're really heavily going to rely on this year, especially with Jonathan Taylor playing the full season. I think that their defense was a huge issue last year. They were the team that would put up like 30, but they also had 30 put up against them like every single time. So I think
in the secondary.
Exactly.
It was over the top.
Nate Wiggins from Clemson is still on the board. I think he's just such a good talent. I have him a little bit over Kool-Aid McKinstry for me, so I'm going to take Nate Wiggins here at 15.
I don't like that. I'm going to disagree. You got to get Kool-Aid coming with that light.
Well, I tell you what, if the Jets make this trade and go back to 16
and still get...
and Brock Bowers is still on the board for them, Joe Douglas is going to look like a magician.
Yeah.
To pick up extra picks and still get somebody that you probably would have taken at 10. So the Jets on the trade back at pick 16 are going to pick up Brock Bowers, add him. I could also see this being a spot for like an A.D. Mitchell or a Brian Thomas if they were to fall back into this position, because this is about, you know, their draft range. So it's not so much as a reach for them if they were to take him at 10. But Brock Bowers falls into your lap, one of the best tight end in the draft. Probably would have been a first-round tight end last year. Just add him, give Aaron Rodgers somebody else to target there in the red zone, roll with it. Broncos are now on the clock at 17 after trading back with Jacksonville. Who do you got the Broncos taking with Bo Nix and Michael Penix still on the board there, Austin? Not trying to sway you, but I was just throwing that out there in case you weren't aware.
They could almost definitely trade back again. None of the teams behind them need QBs for a good 6, 7 picks.
I think the Rams are the ones that I think would potentially.
Now we do have to remember they did trade Jerry Jeudy, so there is a need at wide receiver as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's tough.
That wouldn't be too that'd be nuts if they were to trade back again.
I could definitely see them pulling the trigger here on Bo Nix though. Like he's the caliber quarterback I think that they're looking for over there in Denver.
The only thing I disagree with is that Michael Penix is accuracy, which is what Drew Brees' game always was, getting the ball accurately down the field. Bo Nix is more of that dual threat type
he's
guy.
He's not accurate.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that that's what
his receivers couldn't catch the ball.
Potentially the most accurate quarterback in this draft class is Michael Penix Jr.
Well, then he should have gone first overall.
That's not the only factor. There's 5 factors that make a great
quarterback. Hey, man, I'm making the pick, all right?
Well, all right.
It's Bo Nix. It fits their system better.
You don't know Bo.
Respectfully disagrees.
Yeah. So we're going Bo at 17?
That would be a conversation point after the first round is the Broncos taking Bo Nix over Michael Penix at this point. I mean, Bo Nix does have more starts in college football history than anybody else at the quarterback position. So the experience is there. It's not that he's inaccurate, but he does give you mobile ability that Michael Penix Jr. just does not have.
Yeah.
So I agree. Like Sean Payton didn't have mobility with Drew Brees. I mean, Drew was able to roll out and, get out of the pocket when need be or when it was schemed up. But, I mean, I don't know. I could see Bo Nix being the pick there. So
all right, well, we're locking it in. Bo Nix at 17. So that leaves the Bengals on the clock at 18. They're obviously taking Michael Penix Jr. because he's the most accurate quarterback. So if we had already had news that T. Higgins was being traded or even really being heavily shopped, I think that they might go wide receiver here.
For all intents and purposes, he is. I
haven't seen anything about
it. The last thing I saw was either they've decided to start listening to calls or they've allowed him to reach out to other teams and kind of negotiate on his side because whoever he gets traded to, he's going to have to sign a new contract.
Vikings. I think that their biggest need is defensive interior followed up by tackle. And the fact that Fashanu is still available and Talisi Fuaga, I think that those are better talents than you're going to get from an A.D. Mitchell. And that's why we're going to go tackle right now. I mean, Joe Burrow has now had 2 season-ending injuries since his career started.
You can't go any other direction.
You really do need to protect this man. And I think that Olu Fashanu is my top tackle that's still on the board. So that's where we're going to go with 18.
I'm not mad at that.
So Rams are on the clock at 19.
Rams are on the clock at 19. They could pull the trigger on Michael Penix. Just wait, build for the future there. But he is a little older, so to me, there's the waiting game with him doesn't necessarily play in there. With Fuaga still being here, I could see that being the pick. But in light of Aaron Donald just now retiring, I don't consider this a panic pick. I consider this Jerry Newton is still on the board, or Jazon Newton as he's listed there on your program. So that's
over Byron Murphy.
Over Byron Murphy, just because Jazon or Jerry is the more athletic of the two. Byron is the more of the proto nose tackle, just bully ball powerhouse guy, whereas Jerry has a little more, fluidity to his game and his pass rush movements, a la not saying anything that he's close to Aaron Donald, but their play styles are more similar than what Byron Murphy's is. So going Jerry Newton there at 19.
Okay. So Steelers are on the clock at 20. If you listen to PFF, which nobody ever should, then their biggest need is quarterback. So we'll see.
He says that as he's got the PFF board up there on the screen.
Yeah, we like their mock draft, but don't listen to what they have to say.
They just need to update their board is all we're saying. That's what we're saying.
Yeah. So Austin,
team needs.
who are the Steel City going to be taking here at number 20?
They're going to be stealing that boy A.D. Mitchell out of Texas, a receiver.
Okay.
They need a receiver with Deontay Johnson leaving them, and they love to draft great receivers. So
him and George Pickens on the outside of each other, like they are the same player. Like they're the same exact player. That'll be awesome.
With their tight end,
with Freiermuth and Darnell Washington. Yeah, like that's one of those where it's not fully expected, but it would be exciting. It would get a little spark.
And Le'Veon Bell might be coming back to play for him.
Le'Veon Bell's
he might.
He'll come back and play for the same team that Colin Kaepernick comes back and plays for.
Okay.
So the Finns have legitimately been crossing their fingers this whole time, just saying, please, 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 let Jackson Powers Johnson fall to us. Please, please, please. Please, please, please.
Fuaga on the board?
So I don't think that they need help at tackle. They will in the future, but like he's not going to be a starter for them day one.
Immediate future though. That's my thing with Fuaga though is he can play an inside at guard as well.
Yes. Whenever we look at his size, he's still 6'6",
Laramie Tunsil
334.
played his rookie season at guard next to Brandon Albert in Miami, and then Brandon Albert left.
334 or 6'3", 320. I think that, Jackson Powers Johnson is already a pro-ready interior offensive lineman at either the right guard position, which is a huge need for them, or center, which is a huge need for them. I'm going to go Jackson Powers Johnson here. I think Fuaga is probably the better player, but I think that Jackson Powers provides them with a day one starter immediately.
I would be good with Graham Barton here. Because he can play all wrestler? 5.
Yeah, that's who we had him picking last time.
Zach Frazier's
which
most interior linemen have some kind of a wrestling background.
Yes.
Because that's just it at the position. But I mean, not mad at it at all. If JPJ is the pick off the board for the Dolphins, it's expected, but it's also, hey, solidify that line.
So Colby, you're saying you like Powers over Frazier then?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I've got Powers over Frazier. Frazier's one to where he's a great consolation prize if you miss out on Jackson Powers, but
I think that wrestling
I'm
background
taking
has to
JPJ
give
over him every time.
I don't know how the wrestling background doesn't give him a tick up above Powers.
Not only a wrestling background, but he's a 4-time state champion, and his longest match recorded was 53 seconds, or like 58 seconds.
That's kind of what I'm trying to get at.
He's
an
animal. No, I got you. This would be a spot to where if somebody wanted to trade up and the Dolphins traded back and ended up taking Zach Frazier in the late first round, cool.
I think that technically, like from a technical position standpoint, Powers Johnson has the edge, and that's what I'm evaluating it on. I think that center is a very cerebral type of thing. It's not about being a mauler like a left or right guard would be, and that's what Powers Johnson is supposed to be for us.
So I think now you're tackling wrestling.
If we were drafting a wrestling team, I'd be going Zach Frazier.
You just talked about mental and then talked about wrestling people, but we'll keep it pushing.
So, Justin, the Eagles are on the clock. They've got some needs for
Frazier
sure.
Goes.
Eagles have a lot of needs, but for me, this pick is very simple. We're going Cooper DeJean. Just because of, he's listed as corner. Some people project him to be a safety. I just see him as a good, great hybrid type of player. And for a team like the Eagles who just kind of need everything in the back end of their defense, this is a great pick to me with Wiggins, with Arnold, and Quinyon Mitchell all off the board here. Yeah, wouldn't be shocked at that. I don't understand why wide receiver is a need for them. I get they need a wide receiver 3, but I don't see that as their most glaring need.
Not at all.
Their pass defense was trash last year.
Yep.
If any fantasy player played against their defense receiving wise, you were golden.
And it's been the last couple of years. They have so many injuries in their secondary. They need to develop that unit enough so that they have some depth, if anything.
You already talked about they did sign the Lions cornerback.
Yeah, they brought back Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
So they brought him back. I thought he was already there.
Yeah, they brought him back, which I mean, yeah, that's cool, but he's not getting any younger. It's his second stint with the team. I believe it was just a 1 or 2 year deal. So, like I said, I could see them going other routes here. They could pull the trigger on a receiver, but with the top 4 or 5 guys off the board here, Cooper DeJean just makes a lot of sense to me.
So, Austin, you're picking for the Cardinals again. They've already taken their wide receiver.
Look at that.
Yeah.
You had both decisions for them. There you go. How are you going to change their franchise
Cardinals,
here? You got Brian Thomas. You got picks for the future.
You still got Zach Frazier
with your bonus pick right here.
Zach Frazier still.
Yeah, you were just hyping up Zach Frazier right there. Interior O-line's a big need.
They needed more than a left tackle.
They need guard, center. Yeah. They could take. I don't see
Frazier's
tackle as one of their most glaring needs.
Frazier's definitely a steal here with all these teams coming up that need.
Yeah, there's a lot of interior offensive lineman needs.
I like Frazier going here.
Okay. I love the pick.
Down goes Frazier.
If it were to be made on draft day, I could see them getting slightly roasted for it as like a reach, but you traded back, you garnered picks for the future. This is a bonus pick at the end of the first round, and you're solidifying your offensive line with an absolute animal. Like
and Brian Frazier, Thomas. Like that's I mean, you got a great receiver.
First round. Like Kyler Murray is ecstatic.
Yeah.
You gave me protection and somebody to throw to. Let's go. Pew, pew, pew. Shots.
So that leaves the Cowboys on the clock. And I know that Austin really wants me to take Keon Coleman here because of what he would potentially be able to do at the wide receiver 2 position. I think that a bigger need for them is the position that they let go. They let Tyron Smith go. And with all these tackles still available, you got Fuaga, you got Latham, you got Mims, you got Barton. Really, you could take your pick of them. I think that I have Fuaga higher on my board than the rest. I know Austin doesn't want that because he didn't go to a big school. We took Graham
Barton last time, and his eyeballs almost exploded.
Yeah. So we're going to take Fuaga now, though. I know he didn't go to the big school like the other guys did, but he does comp to be a little bit better day 1 starter. So Green Bay's on the clock. What you got?
Austin's like, I'm picking 3rd next mock draft. I do not want to hear it. All right, so Green Bay on the clock. They've got. I don't know if this is a spot for Tyler Nubin yet. Like, yes, they have the need at safety. Everybody's screaming they have the need at safety, but at this point in the draft,
they're playing with house money.
They are. And I don't see them having a need at tackle necessarily. Even though Bakhtiari left, there's a reason they were okay with letting him go. So I'm taking Byron Murphy. With him dropping here down to them at 25, just give them a guy in the middle there up in the tundra. When it gets cold late in the season, that's what you're going to have to do is stop some runs there up in the north. So yeah, to me, this is one of those value picks of you don't really expect him to fall this far at 25. So you just, especially with all the corners and Cooper DeJean being gone, we're taking Byron Murphy here.
They haven't picked up a running back yet, have they? The Packers? They haven't traded for one yet.
You mean Josh Jacobs?
Yeah, they did get Jacobs.
Yeah, they got
okay,
Josh Jacobs.
So yeah.
That's why they let Aaron Jones go.
Yeah. So sweet.
A running back's not coming up.
If they didn't get one, I could see them trading back and getting the best available running back. But yeah, they're covered there.
So you got the Bucks on the board, Austin. What you thinking?
Whole giant ass list of needs.
Them boys need a team, whole new team.
Especially letting all the guys go in free agency that they let go. Yeah. I mean, they have so many.
You still got like Latu at edge, Chris Braswell, Chop Robinson, Darius Robinson. I'm looking at that because I do know they need pass rush help. Corners that are still available here for them.
Latu's probably dropped a little too far.
You've got Kool-Aid McKinstry. Oh my God, TJ Tampa in Tampa.
Hey, I mean that's gonna sell jerseys.
TJ
It's going
Tampa in
self-telling
Tampa,
jerseys.
please pull that trigger. No, that's still a little rich for him there.
Yeah.
Let's see. This
Um.
this could be a spot for a Christian Haynes. I still think that's way too early in the first, but Graham Barton, just because of his versatility, you've got a lot of options here.
Yeah. Oof. Probably Amarius Mims tackle. No, they need interior. They can't go that route.
They could go Graham Barton. Graham Barton's expected to play on the interior, even though he's listed
He
as
can
tackle.
play all 5.
Yeah, that would probably be the best route for him.
A versatile guy that can go wherever they need.
I like Graham Barton for him.
All right.
It's not a juicy pick, but it's spicy.
The linemen are never sexy picks, but they're needed. You have to do it. And then when you do it and they turn out great, a la nobody liked the Dolphins drafting Mike Pouncey in the first round at center, but that worked out great for 8 to 10 years. Yeah, it's not a sexy pick when it's done, but it can turn into that.
So we've got the Cardinals on the clock again. And I think that they could have probably taken Zach Frazier here. Or at 23. I don't think it's really much of a difference.
100% honest. When I made that trade for the Cardinals at 4 with the Vikings, I didn't even realize they already had 2 first-round picks.
With Houston.
So that pick is even more genius to me if they're able to pull that off, because that gives you 3 first-round picks in a class that you have highly scouted.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel that route. It's a good one.
I think that there's quite a few defensive linemen, quite a few cornerbacks that are still available. I'm going in between Kool-Aid McKinstry and Chop Robinson. That's like my 2 places that I want to go. And I think that they're going to pull the trigger on Kool-Aid McKinstry. I would rather Chop Robinson, I think. He had such a good combine. But Kool-Aid McKinstry and Terrion Arnold were a kind of a 1-2 before the offseason started. People really didn't even know who they liked more. Kool-Aid's fallen some, but to get him at 27, I mean, he's absolutely a first-round talent. I think that it's a bit of a steal for them, so they're going to go Kool-Aid McKinstry.
So they finished their first round with Kool-Aid McKinstry, Zach Frazier, and Brian Thomas Jr.
Phenomenal.
That's a great first round.
Yes.
They could have gone Latu, would have been a great pick. They could have gone a tackle just to give them 2 offensive linemen. I'm really glad I made that trade. That's awesome. I really hope they're able to pull that trade off with Minnesota, because that makes their team building aspect amazing.
And they've already got their franchise quarterback.
Exactly. I just love that Madden style of just being able to play with stuff and build that team up with different picks, and that's awesome. All right.
So now your job is to tank this pick. So what are we thinking?
100%.
Yeah.
So every mock has the Bills taking a wide receiver, and I've agreed to this point, except A.D. Mitchell and Brian Thomas Jr. are both gone. And I don't know if this is a great spot for somebody like Ladd McConkey, Troy Franklin, Ricky Pearsall, Jermaine Burton, Keon Coleman. Not really valuing that there. So to me, I'm looking at their DB position. They've just lost Tre'Davious White. He's still out there looking at different things, and you've got TJ Tampa on the board. So for me, honestly, with the way the Bills are looking at this spot, and this isn't just because I want to do this and just because, oh, hey, we're doing trades, let me make all the trades. Legit, looking at what's on the board, I think them trading back makes a lot of sense because of what they could get in the second round for a team trying to jump up here. So what I'm going to have happen here is the Las Vegas Raiders are trading up. They're going to trade 44 and 77 and probably a second round, maybe a first round pick next year, whatever. I'm not diving into that. But anyways, the Raiders are going to trade up into this spot, and they are going to draft Michael Penix Jr. They're going to trade up. They're going to snag their quarterback. They were able to wait a little bit and just hang tight at 13 and get a corner for the defensive side of the ball. Michael Penix Jr. come in, and if he competes with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, he's going to be the best quarterback in the room.
Agreed. He's going to be able to start by week 4 at the latest. Like if they're not starting him day 1, it's the perfect opportunity to trade up. And the Bills, they need safety help. They need DBs. They need linebackers. They need everything on their defense got totally gutted this year. And on top of that, they need receiver. They need all these things.
That their cap situation, they have too many holes. That's where it's the same story for the Dolphins. Like, I think the Dolphins personally should trade back a little bit, depending on how the board is looking at that time. And all of these picks behind them are a prime opportunity for somebody like the Raiders to trade up. So it's one of those to where it's like, well, if somebody's going to get extra picks, it might as well be us.
All right, Austin, you got the Lions on the clock. What are they thinking?
They are going with...
Man, if they were to be able to pair Latu with Aiden Hutchinson, that would be freaking insane.
Yeah, I mean, he's fallen way too far, to be honest.
He has fallen a lot.
They would definitely pull the trigger on a guy like that.
Yeah, I think so
I like
too.
Latu for them.
They love the trenches in general, and to get a great trench guy at 29 is unbelievable for them.
Well, especially with Graham Barton, Zach Frazier, and JPJ all being gone, like their interior O-line where their need is, anybody they take at this point would be a reach. So, yeah, like if you pair a guy like Latu who's falling a little bit here in this mock, and then you give him with Aiden Hutchinson on the opposite side, that pass rush, that's nuts. Like that's what teams dream for. Quarterbacks in the NFC North, beware. All right, Coach, you've got the Ravens on the board at 30. Who they going with?
So I actually thought about having the Ravens trade back here, but the way that they're building their team, they're really in this win now type of scenario. They just got the King playing running back for him, and I think getting one of the top run blocking tackles in the draft and J.C. Latham. It's a huge need for them. They need wide receiver. They need cornerback, but there's been a big run on corners. There's been a big run on wide receivers. The tackles are still there, so I think J.C. Latham is an easy selection for them at 30.
I like that. It's either that or a nice receiver for him.
I think that if A.D. Mitchell was still there, if Brian Thomas, he's not going to be there, but if he was there, I think you could go that position.
I really like Troy Franklin for the Ravens system.
I thought that as well.
I think he fits it perfectly.
I thought that as well. It's just Lamar's not a passing quarterback. He's developing more and more at it, but really building on the run game and allowing...
What did he just win this year?
The MVP.
He is the most valuable player. What's the most important position in
He plays quarterback different than 29 other teams in the NFL.
He plays the way that it is nowadays in the NFL.
True, which makes his wide receivers less valuable. There's a reason people don't snatch up Ravens wide receivers early on. Zay Flowers will go much earlier in fantasy drafts this year coming up than he should.
Yes, agreed.
He's going to be one of the more overdrafted players just because of his name, his hype, his ability. Like, he's a great player and wide receiver, but it's realistically how many targets is he going to get? Like, yeah, he had a solid season last year. He was solid for fantasy.
But he wasn't a mid-second round, early third round, exactly. And that's where he's going to get taken.
Yeah, that's where he's going already. Like, that's the thing. He's going top 5 rounds, and I just don't see him in that spot necessarily to me. So, anyways, moving on, we've got the San Francisco 49ers on the clock here at 31. And to me, they're kind of just playing with poison. They would be a prime opportunity for somebody to trade in if one of these quarterbacks are still here on the board for them. But I'm going to take Amarius Mims, one of the top tackles in the draft, falling down here to him. And to me, with him, he does need a little time to develop just because he doesn't have necessarily as much experience as all of these other guys in the draft, just because of the turnstile there at Georgia of all these elite guys coming out. So because of that, the Niners here at the end of the first can afford to sit him a little bit if they need to, work him in slowly, and just his size and athletic ability alone, if he's able to put it together, he's a steal at the end of the first round. All right, Austin, you got the Super Bowl champs to finish us off here at 32. What do you got?
Catching lightning in the bottle here. I think they gonna snag Xavier Worthy. Xavier. It's just if it's the
I'm
comp
more
that
and
they're
more
looking
getting to the
for.
point to where I don't know if he does get snatched up in the first round. Like that speed probably will make him, especially at this spot. But I could also see the Chiefs taking a tackle here as well.
It's not just speed though. Like it's the route running ability he has. He's not just a speedy guy. He gets open because of his speed. But
No, I agree.
It's
I'm not
down
saying
to
he's just speed. I was more referring to right after the 40, he was hyped up to he was going 15 overall to the Colts in some people's mock drafts, to where
which
at
is
the
crazy
end of
because they have Josh Downs. Like,
yeah. But at the end of the first, I mean, what are you doing anyways? You just won the Super Bowl. Like, you're playing with house money. Like, go ahead and snag one of the more electric players in the entire draft.
it would either be him or Troy Franklin for me, like realistically, and maybe Keon Coleman. I like those three for me. You can't go wrong with those three guys. Or Ladd McConkey.
I like the first two specifically because they have a skill set that Rashee Rice doesn't have. Rashee Rice is very much a tactician and like the route running strong hands, similar to like an Anquan Bolden, which is what I see a lot of from Keon Coleman. I think that having the speed to where you can open the top of the defense a little bit, McCole Hardman has not been that for them. And that's why they drafted him, a couple years after Tyreek was killing it. So I do like the Xavier Worthy. He's the fastest guy in the draft. He's going to open the top on every defense. It doesn't matter who's back there. They've got to respect him.
Well, hey, we appreciate everybody hanging out. If you've hung out to this point, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification so when we drop an episode, you get it first. Follow us on Twitter at @profootball_pod. Put in the comments here, why are we dumb? Why were some of these picks awesome? Why were some of them just never going to happen in your wildest dreams? We love you guys. Be easy.
Hey, shout out Tulsi Rose Tea. Sip up, baby.
TulsiRoseTea.com. You gotta go there, get your sip on, get your sip